Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for making it back here to market her brand. We have a global women business tour that's still going on annually, and I'm super excited about tonight's speaker, Coach Delia. She is going to touch on some great topics that we actually need to implement in our business and our life. She continues to give us the tools to expand and grow. And I know if you're like me, I am in for a treat, and you want to get your notepads, your pen, your paper, so you don't miss anything. This is going to be recorded. This is going to be posted in community. So this will give you time to listen back to replay and reach out to her, ask any questions you may have, or give her any comments or any feedback, anything that she can do to definitely help you continue to reaching your goals in 2026. She's definitely here to do. Well, I am your host, Sunshine Fullerwinder, the CEO and founder of Market Her Brand, a women global organization where focused on empowering, elevating, educating, and equipping women in business to continue to grow and start their business and to continue to just share their purpose and their passion to the world. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and release the mic over to no other than Delia. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Sunshine. I always love how God speaks right through you and your entries. That was beautiful. It's an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure to be here again. And I hope that everyone's doing well on this beautiful Thursday night. And yeah, today I really wanted to talk about pain. Pain is something that we all experience, but I think a lot of us, we have this fear associated with pain. So I want to talk about how we can shift our relationship with pain from something we fear to something that can teach us so that we can elevate and grow. So let's get into it. So, I want to start by kind of explaining the difference between pain that's unavoidable and not necessarily personal because it's a part of the human experience versus pain that we create from betraying our soul. So the pain that's unavoidable, that kind of goes with like death and with physical pain, spiritual pain, mental, emotional. That's just a part of life, unfortunately. And we can maybe dive into that in another discussion. But the pain that's avoidable comes from betraying our soul. And the more that we can get to know our soul and align ourselves with our soul values, we can avoid that pain. And when it comes, reframe and allow it to become our teacher and guide instead of something that we fear. So I wanted to explain this in the concept of an analogy through kind of sharing my own story and seeing if anyone else resonates or can relate, because I think it's something we all go through, but in different ways. What I believe, at least before we come here, is that we make an agreement with God of how we're going to serve, how we're going to be of service. I feel all of our purposes are connected to being of service. But the question is, how are we going to serve? We all have pieces of the puzzle. And the question is, what is your piece of the puzzle? So we have this agreement of how we're going to serve, whether that is serving one person, millions of people, whether that's serving the planet, animals, and it comes through our own unique expressions. And if you think of it like a highway, you come in driving on that highway towards your destination, and your destination represents the place you arrive when you are embodying living in alignment with your purpose and with your soul. So for me, for example, I know before I came here, I chose to be a healer, to be a speaker, to be a teacher, to be a guide, and to be a role model. And, I was just in my little car, on my little highway, in my little baby vehicle, just like, okay, I'm on my way to, let's say my destination was California, which represents what I just said, being the teacher, the leader, the guide, the healer. And I'm like, okay, I'm just, driving my little car, doing my little thing. And then what happens is, I had friends and family that were telling me, come off on this exit right here, real quick. You know, I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be this. And I'm like, but I'm driving to California. I'm doing my little thing. And they're like, no, come here. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. And I'm like, okay, I'll come off on this exit. And I try to go off that exit, and God is just like, this is not in alignment with your soul. And so it kind of shows up in my reality as this feeling. something ain't right. Me trying to be the perfect daughter, getting good grades, doing the sports and extracurriculars that my parents wanted me to do. And they were happy, but I was like, this ain't me. This is not who I truly am. So I started to feel like something was wrong. And that feeling turned into a little bit of a push of like, okay, you got to shift. You got to shift out of this, wake up. And so I had clarity of, okay, I want to major in psychology and sociology. And I started to get into spirituality because I wanted to understand my own relationship with something greater than me, whether you call that God, source, spirit. But I only got to that point of clarity through going through that pain. The pain kind of like filtered out the rest of the BS and helped me realize, okay, I'm interested in the mind, I'm interested in people, and I'm interested in something greater than me. And so eventually I realized, okay, I can keep going down this path and maybe lose my life, or I can serve. And just like what Sunshine was saying earlier, sometimes God will speak to us as a vision through a vision or a message in a way that we're called to show up and serve and create something so much greater than ourselves. So at that low point of pain where I was victimizing myself and I was feeling bad for myself, I heard the call. God told me you had to go through all of this to really understand, help people reframe their relationship with pain, which is how people become unstuck. We're stuck when we allow pain to dictate our life, when we play victim, when we really don't know how worthy we are and aren't able to see from a bigger, higher picture. We become unstuck when we can zoom out and detach and hear the voice of God within ourselves and really prioritize that connection and understand that everything unfolds in divine timing. There's a greater intelligence that we're all connected to that guides all of us. And when we can honor it and trust ourselves and take baby steps every day and try our best to show up every day, even when it's hard, things will get better. You will see the light on the other side of the tunnel until the point that you eventually step into the light, still full of darkness, but then you start healing. You start remembering if the darkness is not you, the pain is not you, you are not the pain, you are the light. And it's an ongoing journey. So now I'm at this place where I work with highly sensitive people, empathic people who feel things so deeply, who have been going through life trying to please others, trying to be something that they're not and have forgotten who they truly are within that process. I help them pick out the weeds out of their inner garden of negative beliefs, negative thought patterns, negative feelings that other people have placed within them so that they can reconnect with who they truly are. And I help them create a life of alignment, honoring their soul. I help them remember the vastness of their soul and that their relationship with God, with spirit, with source, whatever you want to call it, is the most important relationship that any of us can have. And I only arrived at this point of understanding my life's work through going through the pain and through facing that pain every day, but pulling myself out of it and learning that it's not about the destination, it's about the climb.
Going to take myself off mute. But I just want to applaud. You are so, oh my goodness, this is you're so on it and on point with that because a lot of times it's easy for us to focus on what's happening to us instead of what's happening for us. And that,
Yeah.
like you said, could keep so many people stuck, from being able to trying to move forward. So if you can, just for a moment, can you take me through how you're able to just slow down all the noise and be able to just connect with what's happening right now and what you need to do right now to be able to do what's next? Because a lot of us get stuck in that phase because we all go through stuff.
Yeah. Place. Act like a eagle or like a hawk, just zoom out, see it from a higher perspective of, okay, this is where I'm at right now. This is where I was before. This is my dream. This is my goal. And seeing kind of the sequence of events, trusting the process by remembering, like there were times in my life that I didn't think I was going to make it through, but somehow I made it through. So I know I'll make it through this too. Like I already got the proof. God's already showed the proof right there. And then it's also important to have some type of goal, but to be detached from thinking it has to be the exact same way, the exact way that you want it to be, because God's got a plan. And who are we to say that it's got to be our way? It's God's way. So we got to surrender and allow God to, we got to trust ourselves and God enough to know that it'll unfold better than we can even imagine, but to still have an idea of what we want, because that keeps us excited, that keeps us motivated. And then just take baby steps. Like, what's one thing that I can do today that can move me towards this goal? Like, I know for me, coming here, I love practicing speaking. I love practicing sharing. And I know that helps me move forward because eventually I do want to be on stages more and just speaking. So this helps me. So what's one step you can take that can help you move forward just a little bit? And then you'll zoom out and see all of those consistent baby steps brought you to this new world.
I love what you said, those baby steps, because sometimes we want the big steps and we don't realize that the baby steps actually lead to the big steps over time, but
Yeah.
we have to be willing to take the baby steps. Something that stood out to me is when you talked about the distractions, how something may want to lure you somewhere else, but really you need to be right here. And
Yeah.
are you able to, really stay on this track? On send these baby steps, work on these goals, realize that, hey, you're more than enough in the space that you're in. And like you said, no matter what's going on, that everything is truly happening for you. So, how do you manage distractions when you're so purpose driven?
Yeah, girl, that's a hard one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm perfect and I'm like a monk in a sanctuary that is, completely detached from the world. Um, because I gotta be honest, some days it's easier than others, some days it's harder. But I just remind myself that I'm trying my best every day and that I don't have to be perfect. I'm not a robot. I don't want to be a robot. I want to have a soul, you know? And our bodies, the feelings we have in our bodies, the language of the body is so ancient, it's so profound. And sometimes if I find myself being distracted, whether I'm scrolling or I'm just stressed by other people's voices, I'll feel in my body that I'm out of balance. And I'm like, okay, how can I kind of take a step away from this? And sometimes I have the strength to put away the phone, to completely just shut everything off and just slow down. Other times, I'm not going to lie, like it's hard. And some days I don't win. but but the key, I think, is just remembering that every day when we wake up is a new day. So any losses we took the day before, we don't have to carry with us in the new day. We can let go and we have a fresh start. And also just remembering that the way we talk to ourselves really dictates how we feel and how we show up in the world. So I just try to keep it positive. And when a negative thought comes, I'm like, that was not coming from me. Okay, okay. And just
Yeah. Like, yeah,
yeah.
no, I totally understand where you're coming from, because it is important that we know the different voices that we hear in our head, which ones are from God telling us about ourselves and which one is from the enemy telling us about ourselves. And when we realize that again, it is the enemy's job to make sure we do not self-identify with ourselves and really be able to manifest what God is calling us to do. One thing I love that you said, is getting to a point where you realize you're more than enough and that everything around you is more than enough, and the fact is that I think we're talking before this that we are a work in progress. So what does that mean? That means that from me listening to you, going back to those baby steps, is that no matter what it is that life throws you. I mean, we're talking about life, career, business, parenting. I mean, whatever it is, where is that baby step? Where is it to start? And then take that next foot forward and that next foot forward. I see you on TikTok. You're consistently showing up every single day. Like, I gotta go to Delia's page because she has something great to say. That is mastery, because not a lot of people can show up every day because they're trying to decide, and I'm talking myself about what content to produce, what to say. That being said, how did you get to that point where you were able to take those baby steps? Now it's like, okay, girl, I know when I wake up, Delia got a new message.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be honest, like, even though I think I've definitely had a few months where I was literally every single day, and
Both areas, it allows you to show up, because now you're actually leaving with something instead of always pointing out. You're also making sure your cup is filled too. That's amazing how you got to that realization, because yeah, I really think that, I know a lot of y'all think that's also amazing too. Good note taking. I put down the notes. No, I love it. I'm seriously, I love it. I love it. One thing about it is fear of unknown. You hear people say it all the time, especially people that are working on a business, a vision, or a dream, or anything like that. You don't know how things are really going to turn up. What is that? Whenever you look at fear of unknown and you're putting that in a Christian perspective, us trusting God, then
yes.
tell me about how that correlates.
Yeah, I feel like trusting God is the same thing as trusting ourselves in some ways, because God chose us to put the message within, you know? God could have chosen anyone, but the fact that God chose you, to, to me, it's like, if I am saying I trust God, but I'm not trusting myself, I'm like being a hypocrite, you know? And I've noticed, if I'm not trusting myself and God, that's when the fear of the unknown grows that much more. And like what you were saying, the enemy, the demons, whatever you want to call them, they love the fear. They love when we are feeding off the fear. That's their fuel. That's their food. And so the more that we can trust ourselves and God, which I think comes from, again, looking back on our life and seeing those times that we didn't think we were going to get through. That's the proof right there. We got through it, and it's because of a higher power along with our own strength. But we were leaning on God's strength, because I feel like that's the ultimate strength instead of just only ourselves. And I think it also just comes down to remembering that everything is so much bigger than us, and our little egos, our little small self tries to control things and thinks, I know what's best. I know what I want to create. It's got to be this way. But it's like, who am I to say that? Like, oh, it's God's way. Only God knows. Only this force that's so much bigger than me knows. I'm just like this small little person. I mean, I love God too, but it's just only God truly knows. And at the end of the day, we grow the most through being in the unknown and
Mhm.
through trusting the unknown. We don't grow when everything is certain. I was actually just thinking about this earlier. It's like, if somehow we could get a blueprint for our life for every year of, like, this is what you're going to be doing this year, the next year, and next. And yeah, it'll provide a sense of certainty, and probably there would be less fear, but it would be so boring. Like, that, you know what I mean? Like, it would be, because excitement is kind of connected to the fear when we choose to view it that way instead of letting the fear overpower. But if we can kind of be led by excitement within that unknown factor, it's like lighter instead of being in that fear, which is heavier and lower.
I love what you said. Even when you said baby steps, going back to that, I realize with even babies, they're moving, from day one when they in your womb, they're moving, And so when I'm thinking about you saying baby steps in everything we do, movement is what it requires, moving,
Yeah.
doing something. at taking action on something. And I realized that over time, taking action on something is what's going to keep you from being focused on all those different insecurities, fears, or any doubts that you may have.
Yeah.
Just because it comes to a point in life when, I guess you stop wrestling with what God has called you to do and you say, I just got to show up. And I have to
Yeah.
show up. And it goes back to what you said. When you were talking, I was just thinking about Delia, how I met you. No, seriously, I was really thinking, that if I did not, take that step to do what God had called me to do, I would have never met you no other way because you
Yeah.
were only in the path of purpose. You were in the path of
Yeah.
me buying a car. You were in the path of me going to Walmart, go shopping. You were in the path of me going to work. You were only in the path of purpose. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that lets me know there's some places, people, and things that we'll just won't run into when we're
Yeah.
not in that direct path of purpose. And I'm just saying, like, if I was the enemy and I could see so much what God is doing in and through you, oh my goodness, I would try to block you too. Like, whoa, no, move her, hold her back. No, have yourself down. Girl, you can't do it. I'm just saying, I'm serious. Just because, like I told you, we just launched this community, I'm like, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to launch this community. We're starting up, and, just to see what God has said manifest, just being able to do what God has said and meeting you. And you're in what state?
Florida.
Florida. Okay. So that being said, think about it. I mean, still trying to raise money, come Florida. But I'm just saying, so what I want, what I'm looking to achieve, as we listen to Delia, because she comes on the broadcast many times that always bring us great content, is her core message. Her core message when she's speaking on here for us. I'm going to have you share that with us.
Yeah, I would say my core message definitely comes back to faith, back to trust, and back to at the end of the day, we're all here to be of service, to help one another, to become the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And community is such a big part of that. It's so hard to do that alone. And we can only do that when we walk the path of alignment, when we honor our soul, when we honor God. And I'm not saying we all have to do that, but I know that's what God's intention is for each of us. God wants us to become the best versions of us. God wants us to help one another. God wants us to live in unity, in love, in community, and to support one another. And if you have aspects of your life where you feel there are people and things trying to bring you down and you feel unfulfilled, learn from it. See how God is redirecting you back onto your path instead of viewing that as if God hates you or something. It's not that God doesn't like you. God loves you. It's just that you might be out of alignment in some ways, and God wants you to come back on your path so that you can help yourself, your family, your lineage, and the planet. Because we're all here to serve at the end of the day. And the world really needs that right now, especially like big time. The enemy's trying to divide us and keep us separated in competition and negative thinking and judgment. And anything that promotes separation, is the enemy. But anything
Mhm.
that promotes unity and love and fulfillment and support, that's God. It's that simple.
Yes, no, I love what you said. Just because we can't work 3 and 4, 5 jobs all of our lives, it's got to be, a lot of my, I was talking to an elderly person, and one thing is like they said, I'm retired, and I realized, oh wow, a lot of us are going to get to that point where we're retired, and retirement means that you really aren't having all this, working. So, how many people are prepared for that? And when I look at, being able to be, still able to fulfill the purpose that God has in our lives and to be able to do something for the rest of your life that really, like you said, it really just connects to you because you're doing it for the people that God's called you for, but you're also doing that for yourself as well too. which also pleases God, so you're not pouring out from an empty cup, and nor are you leaving empty. You know what I'm saying? So I love how you said that reciprocation works, which is so important. As y'all can see, Delia, she's just a great person to talk to, a great person to really encourage you, empower you, equip you, and to really just help you to get to the next level, because I'm very big about us continue to move forward, continue to go to the next level. So how can people get in touch with you? How can people contact you? What platforms are you on?
Yeah, yeah. My website is manyraysoflight.com, and there's an option to email me through the website and also to hop on a free coaching call with me to see if, we're vibing and if it's a good fit. And I'm also on TikTok at Delia Tahi and Instagram at Delia Tahi. So feel free to message me there or email me at deliatahi@gmail.com. And I'm here if anyone feels that they are seeking that additional support. I feel like healing and receiving support and investing within our growth, whatever that looks like, is one of the greatest things we can definitely do at this time.
Yeah, most definitely. One thing I realize is that we don't have to always have it together, but
Yeah.
we are a work in progress. And sometimes we can do the work ourselves with God, and sometimes God even has a sister or come along and be able to help you. So that's the kind of community we're building here. Of women helping women to be able to get to the next level. Women praying for each other, empowering, just a positive vibration, which is good. Most of all, you get access to Delia. So please follow her on TikTok. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. I wake up every day, pop that in, bam, there go Delia. Sometimes I have to do a replay and watch it doing my breaks on my lunches at work. But either way, she's a wonderful coach, a wonderful woman, and just a very passionate woman that wants to see other women succeed. Okay. And so my name is Sunshine. I'm the CEO and founder of Market Her Brand, and I'm the host for tonight. Again, we look forward to y'all coming back to our next speaker for our next event. So without further ado, just follow us on Facebook and you'll keep track of what we're doing. Coach Delia, thank you so much for coming to our broadcast. I could not end this broadcast without you giving us any last words or something we can leave away with.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. And keep your head up, even when you feel like the enemy and like the negativity is trying to pull you down. Keep your head up and know that you have access to the strength through your ancestors, through the ones who came before you, and through God, who is always loving and supporting you. And you are not alone. It will get lighter. It won't necessarily get easier, but it will get lighter if you choose to see the light and come back to the light. You are loved.
Well, there you have it. I won't say too much because I want to end with that too. Without further ado, thank you all for watching replay. For those who are coming back to broadcast to listen to it later, and they're here, we appreciate you and we love you as well. Thank you, Coach Delia.
Thank you.